Welcome to the Built After Hours podcast, where we talk with the bold entrepreneurs who built their service businesses after the world clocked out. Real talk, real risks, real results. Are you ready?
Welcome back to the Built After Hours podcast. I'm your host, Edwin Eaton. And this week on Built After Hours, we're diving into a story that a lot of new cleaning business owners need to hear. My guest started off just like many others, buying into a cleaning franchise. But it didn't take him long to realize something crucial. The real opportunity, the real money, was building something of his own. Fast forward 11 years, and my guest has carved out a name for himself in the state of Massachusetts. From local networking events to speaking on national stages at ISSA, he's proving that betting on yourself pays off. Let's get into it. Please welcome to the show, Da Costa, owner of Modular Concepts. Luis, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Edwin. Thank you. What an honor. What a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, no, this is great. And you got the sunshine right behind you, so it's a good day, right?
It is a great day.
So before we dive into your journey, because we got a lot to talk about, a lot of stuff that you're going on with franchises and speaking at events and things like that, can you give our listeners a little background on yourself and the story behind Modular Concepts?
Yeah, of course. I think it's interesting. It looks like you got the monopoly on Brazilian guests. You are in a row. So, of course, I'm Brazilian as well, as you can realize by my heavy accent. My entire background is in this industry, in the cleaning industry. But before talking about, professional background, I just want to establish that I'm married for 30 years with the same wife. She's a wonderful person. My best 3/4. So Mara, my wife, and then I have 2 adult kids. My youngest just graduated his master's, and my oldest is a registered nurse. So we are a small family unit. And as a family, we came to the U.S. in 2007. Before that, I used to work for SC Johnson in Brazil. I made my entire career at SC Johnson until they merged with Diversey. That wasn't very successful, I guess, anywhere. And at that point, I decided to accept an invitation from Ecolab, the main competitor, to go and establish their distribution network. They were very strong in direct sales, but they didn't have a established distribution network. So that's what I did for the entire country of Brazil. And then one of those distributors had an opportunity to establish a line of institutional paper in the U.S. that is manufactured in Brazil. That was 2007. I took that opportunity. I just want to raise my kids in a not as corrupt, not as violent culture as Brazil was at the time, and unfortunately still is. So I took that and we came to the US by the end of 2007 with big plans to do big things. And in about 4 months, that all collapsed because the economy collapsed. So of course, now that whatever we came here to do wouldn't work. And that's when we started with the franchise thing. So I don't know if you want me to keep expanding on that, but that's the background.
That's a great intro into everything you've been doing. So it's amazing that in Brazil, you did SC Johnson, Ecolab, everything. So you have a good understanding of the janitorial industry, especially when it comes to supplies and equipment. And then you get into, what you're doing now. So let's take from where you were at in Brazil, learning all the supplies and everything like that, and then transitioning into this. What made you go the franchise route opposed to starting it on your own?
Right. Yeah. So what made me was necessity, because what happened is when we came here to do what we first had planned to do, we had a sponsor, we had all the things necessary to come to the US and work here. When all that collapsed. So all that the support and everything was no longer there. But now I'm here with 2 kids. One is 9, the other is 6. My wife, and the reason we came to Massachusetts is because I could go anywhere. But my wife had siblings here in Marlborough, where my company is. So we might as well be close to family. So that's why we came here. But then all of a sudden, all the plans, are no longer there. I need to do something. Now I'm here. I don't want to go back to Brazil. And then I saw an advertisement that said, be your own boss, which means I wouldn't need to be employed by anyone in my mind, right? I would be my own boss. So my English is still not that good, but it was even worse at that time. And I certainly misunderstood the concept in terms of what needs to be paid and what would be received. And I signed in. And to the guy's credit, I didn't put any money down. I kind of signed in to pay with sweat. So, besides all the deductions, which I was very aware, not because they didn't communicate. I cannot say that. It's just because my English wasn't good enough to understand everything. So I didn't understand the volume of deductions and everything. So on top of that, then I also had a note for the franchise fee. But that was, once I got the understanding, I told my wife, look, the only way we can make it work for us is volume. We need to do a lot of volume to extract enough, to go through the month. And that's what we did. So people laugh when I say that, but it's true that I came from the guy that had a corner office with a restroom in it in Brazil to clean that restroom in America. So I went from the C-suites and everything, and now I'm doing janitorial. And like as a provider, you do what you got to do to provide for your family.
Absolutely.
So I started doing cleaning. I had all the theories about cleaning and chemicals and everything. And then I end up getting also the hands-on experience, which on top of all my business experience that I have acquired with those two companies, plus my education, I graduated in business. I had an extension in executive leadership with the Notre Dame University here. So all that background, I didn't know at that time, but God is very good. It's been very good to us. So all that background, opening distributors in Brazil, which means I was starting business from scratch without any skin in the game. I was getting paid for that, but I was accruing that experience of what to do, how to do, what not to do, how to hire, how to establish your marketing, all that stuff was in the end, I couldn't see that at that point. And even scrubbing toilets and cleaning offices, I couldn't see that. I just saw that as a means of survival. But it was actually compounding factors that gave me all the structure to start my own business with a good understanding of all aspects of the business. We never know everything, but I do believe that gave me like a great advantage in terms of starting my own business years later.
And so, you said you went to the Massachusetts area because your family was there. Did they support you in every way? Because I know, like with me and with some other guests that we've had on the show, it's like, you tell family and friends you're going to start a cleaning business, and they're like, why are you going to be cleaning toilets? Why are you going to be taking out trash? Did they support you 100% when you decided to say, hey, this is the direction I'm going?
Outside of my immediate family, wife and kids at that point, it doesn't matter to me. So my wife and the kids would come along. She was on the same page. We do what we need to do. And it's important. And it was very humbling experience, right? Because you really disregard status or anything like that. You go and clean toilets because that's what you need to do. Now, guess what? It's work dignifies a man or a woman, right? You're working. Really, it's an honest work. It's hard work. And I was glad that I had work. So for the rest of the family, they supported us in terms of helping us, to find a place to stay or even to staying at their place for like 2 weeks or so, to getting us, acquainted to how things work in the U.S. and all that stuff. And we are we're super grateful for that. But in terms of, man, what are you doing? I was doing what was needed to be done. And some of them, actually, most of them were house cleaners and everything here already. So we never partook of their businesses, but I went to help them to clean houses and things like that since we were there. So I guess that helped as well.
That's good. Plus you knew what type of chemicals to use, right?
Right. I knew everything.
So getting into the commercial game and kind of starting off on your own away from the franchise, do you remember the very first building you ever cleaned?
Oh, absolutely. Well, a funny story is that when we started with the franchise, my first customer was that we started with the franchise officially, right? Because I did some other stuff, but it wasn't official, quote unquote. I was covering for someone. I was trying just to get some dollars. But then when we got our first customer, that was like, this is your first customer to the franchise. It was right here in Marlboro, and it was a commercial pharmacy. I started cleaning that customer in January 2nd, 2008 through the franchise, right?
Okay.
So I would just like fast forward to 2025. We still have that customer. And in fact, we still clean that customer. I can say that I clean it, although rarely I still do it. My wife makes a point in keeping that customers just so we know we are reminded of how everything started and everything. And last week, the last person that was there when we started just retired. So we are the oldest people in that office. Even their employees don't have the same longevity as we have.
I mean, that's an amazing story right there, to that being that first account that you have, and then fast forward to today and you still have it. I mean, that just goes to speak volumes about you and your business and the type of relationships that you're building. Because I think what people forget is this, yes, it is a cleaning industry, but it's also a people industry.
Oh, absolutely.
With the relationships that we build. So that, again, it just speaks volumes to you. And I know you, we've met in person, and I know the type of person that you are. And that just solidifies the fact that, you know what you're doing out there. And speaking of, we've met each other, I've been racking my brain. Did we meet each other first was it in San Jose or was it in Denver that we met first?
I think San Jose came before Denver, right?
San Jose did, yeah.
So it was San Jose, yeah.
Okay, yeah. And you, Ricardo, Paulo,
yes,
all those guys.
The entire crew,
Yeah. So like Ricardo and Paulo, are you into jiu-jitsu as well?
Really, to be honest,
No?
they probably will kick my ass. No, not into jiu-jitsu, no.
Very cool. And, and what sticks out too about you is, and that does bring it back to San Jose, because I was actually, that's when I first launched my software, and I was working in the hotel lobby while everybody was out having a good time afterwards. I remember you came back to the lobby and you told me where my kid was and one of my other employees, and you want to go out, have a drink and have a cigar. I do remember that. So, but those are always fun moments. And, in the beginning, I kind of talked about networking, but you also are doing speaking events. And I just saw it on LinkedIn the other day that with ISSA, you were doing an event. I think it was the business growth
strategies. Yeah.
Business growth strategies. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, that was an awesome event. This event used to happen before, but I think COVID put an end to that. So I'm part of the BSC Council for ISSA. So we decided last year that we would revive that. So we did it last year and it was very nice, but this year we did it better. Like only BSCs, all sizes and types. Some people are just starting. Some people are there like thinking about acquiring a BSC, so they don't even have the business yet. And some like they are, like 3,000 employees companies. So from JLL to someone that just started to someone that is looking to start, we have all those, all those people there. And the subjects are very relevant. We did panels. I think that's what you saw with.
Yes.
I was joking with them because that wasn't in the program. We have a speaker that ended up not showing up. So we kind of made up the panel right there on the spot. And
last minute improv, and you were part of that.
It was the best one because it brought authenticity. I'll tell you that, because there was no rehearsal or anything like that. But I've joked that it seems like no matter what I do, I always end up in a panel with George Boutsalis. From Impact in Canada.
He's a great guy. I like that guy.
Fantastic. I'm proud of that. But it's interesting because it's very rarely you're gonna see me in a panel that George is not there. So that worked well. But the event was fantastic, and I do some speaking engagements or panels or mentoring just because I guess it's in my nature. I'm a helper. I like to help people in all aspects, and I can't even brag about that because it's not like I went to the helping school or anything like that. It's just the way God wired me. So it fulfills me to be able to be relevant to someone some way. It could be a small way. It could be just like Paulo on your previous podcast was, like dropping drops of wisdom. That's great.
Yeah.
So if you can do that and someone can use some of your experiences or some of your reports about what to do, what not to do, that's fantastic. So I do a lot of that. So I'm very involved with ISSA, with BSCAI. Yeah, cleaning and cocktails. I will support anything Rick does. I think he does great service for our industry.
Big time.
And
big time.
So that's why we're like always around those events and everything.
Well, speaking of that, cleaning and cocktails, I guess we can give Ricky a little shout out for the event, right? August 19th and 20th, Cleaning and Cocktails live in Nashville, Tennessee, and get your tickets today, cleaningandcocktails.com. Those are great events. I mean, you and I met, and we still chat from time to time, and we're still keeping in touch, and we follow each other on social media. But I kind of wanted to touch base on the ISSA piece. So, we have a lot of new commercial cleaning business owners that listen to this podcast. What advice would you give them about ISSA? Is this something that they should join, they should take a look at?
I believe so. Not just ISSA, but also BSCAI. And it might be financially heavy, maybe depending on what stage you are in the business. So you can make a choice for one or another. My point is you should be involved with your industry's events and everything, not just because you learn, and you do learn a lot, but because of the connections that you can make that can be very relevant, not just in terms of making money, but supporting you. Just like your previous guests were saying, look, we call you, to ask this. And many people called me. I think it was Garen, Garen, that.
Yep.
So we were together in South Carolina at a BSCI event, and we were just talking, and we came back, and he said, man, you mentioned something about your subcontractors agreement. How was that? So I said, look, I did this way. I suggest you do this way as well, but take mine. Use this as a base, and then, use your state laws or whatever you want to put. So that's wonderful that, he doesn't need to reinvent or go after like something from scratch, because he knows someone that is able and willing to give it to them, just because we have a relationship and interest in promoting each other's business and success.
Yeah, we're helping each other out, and that's the
Absolutely.
nice thing about the commercial cleaning industry is
Yeah.
we're all there to help each other. And when you do go to these networking events, that's what you get. You get that piece where you meet the people, and if you have questions, if you're new, you can ask anybody in the room. It doesn't matter. You said at the ISSA event, people with 3,000 plus employees, things like, you're going to see those people there, and you're going to see that they're real people, and they will answer any questions that you have, and they're going to be kind and courteous to you. So, it's definitely worth investing.
No question.
Luis, this is going to bring us to our first segment of the show. And this segment is called the live sales role play. So on this part of the show, Luis, I'm going to ask you a common sales objection, and I just want to see how you would handle this. But before we dive into it, we're going to give a shout out to our sponsor, because this segment is brought to you by Scott Growth Strategies. Not getting responses from your email marketing? Let's be real. It's probably because your strategy sucks. If you want real results, emails that actually get opened, replied to, and turn into paying customers, then you need Scott Growth Strategies. They're not just good, they're your secret weapon. Get serious, get growing. Check them out at scottgrowthstrategies.com and let the pros take your brand to the next level. So Luis, like I said, I'm just going to ask you a common sales objection question. I just want to see with your years of experience how you would handle that. So let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready, my man.
Okay. So let's say you're speaking with a potential customer, and that customer hits you with the statement, our team handles all of our cleaning in-house. How would you handle that? And what would you say to that potential client?
Yeah, I think the best way is always asking questions, right? So the last thing you want is to antagonize your prospect customer or anyone for that matter, let alone a prospect customer. So what I wouldn't say is that, this is worse than subcontracting or tercerizing or anything like that. So how is that going for you? Are you happy with the results? How about absenteeism? Right? We just got actually a school for that very reason. Like, they had good people that are there for 20 years. And because they're there for 20 years, sometimes they just vanish for 4 or 5 days. And so when they share that to me based on the open-ended questions, how is that working? How do they show up to work? How about the consistency? How about the equipment? Do you need to repair equipment? Do you have the proper equipment? Are you up to date with cleaning techniques, trainings, and everything? So that's where you build your value in terms of a potential replacement for that. Now, you know me, I sell nothing. I never sell anything. I do literally this. I try to understand if you have a need, and if you have a need, I try to help you to fulfill that need. And sometimes that becomes sales. So I'm not saying that's the only way or that's the best way. It's just the way I do business. But that would be the way I would conduct that kind of argument. And And very often, you have a better solution, because if Maria doesn't go, I will send John. So they will always have the service. I always have the best equipment. I am up to date. They are trained. I have the best chemicals. I have the best solution. So it's kind of unfair competition.
Yeah. And I think what you said too is understanding a need, right? And asking those open-ended questions. So if you're listening to this, you're new, hopefully you're taking notes on that, because it's absolutely right. He's saying he's not selling, he's asking the questions. And really what's happening is you end up having a real conversation with that potential client, which could end up turning into a customer. So don't try to be pushy, just understand the need, just like you said. So no, that's perfect. I appreciate you playing the game.
Of course.
Putting you on the spot, and you're coming out with gems for us, which is great. What I wanted to ask too, because in the background I can see your office there. You got your cars behind you there, and I know just recently you moved into this new office, right? Because I saw your posts on social media.
November.
Okay. First off, congrats, and secondly, the office looks pretty Pretty sweet. So tell us a little bit how you came to the determination to get an office like you have.
So I think I posted about that. When we first started, my office was a kitchen table inside my bedroom in a 2-bedroom apartment. So one bedroom for my kids, and that's where we started. So from there, we went to a shared space with a very small office. And I was so proud of that. Then we got a larger office inside that shared space. Then I got an opportunity and I subleased a space with a friend that had like a tech company. That lease expired. Then I leased my first standalone office close to this one, also a sublease, like COVID residual, but it was my sublease. So it was a very good deal, but it was a 3.5 years deal. So I found this space here and we leased the space, also negotiated, and it was just a shell. So I actually designed, look, this is what I want, and they just built for me and we got the deal here. And what I did is it's an oversized office. And there is a purpose for that. So I have extra conference rooms or meeting rooms, office, a big open space.
I was just going to ask you about this because I see the posts on that too.
Yeah. So the conference rooms and the space and everything, I just offered that to people from Staples and from Torque. And I had people from Taconi and some other companies, Spartan, coming to the office. And I say, look, if you are in the area and you're traveling, don't go to Starbucks or stay in your car for a Zoom meeting. Come to the office, air conditioned, get privacy, get a snack, and use that. Use my base as your base, no charge, nothing. I just want to help you to have a better way to communicate, safer way, more private way. You have meetings with potential customers, do it here. Use my space. And that's the idea. The office shouldn't be just something to serve us. It should be something to serve everybody that help us to be what we be, even the community. So the Chamber of Commerce, they do meetings here, and they love doing it.
You know what's amazing about that you say that? Because those are one of the posts that I saw. Like you hosted the Chamber of Commerce there in your office, and that is a genius idea. And I know you're being, you're helping out everybody, right? But when you do these meetings for the Chamber of Commerce, you're getting all the people that you actually need to know. Right? There's no gatekeeper there. If you want an account, there's the people, and they're in your office and they're seeing what you're all about. So your strategy, whether it be a strategy or not, because I know you're helping people out, but to me, it's just a genius move that you're bringing these people that you want to get in front of into your office to use it.
Yeah, it is a strategy, Edwin, and there is no contradiction in that, because that's who I am. So I can be authentic and I can use that, whatever it is, if it's a gift or if a tendency to help my business. Why wouldn't I? There's nothing wrong about that. So and that's the best thing, right? Because if you tell me, hey, do cold calling, man, I would be terrible about that because that's not me. I would do it, I get some results, but I would be miserable because that's not me. There's nothing wrong about cold calling. There's people that will make a killing on that. I am relational. My business is completely relational, not transactional. And so much so that we have no active efforts for sale, for selling. And we add customers and we grow year after year. Every year we say this was our best year so far, because what we're using who we are to promote our business.
I love it, and it's working for you, right? So that's amazing, brilliant. Yeah. Hats off to you on that. That's I've got some office space and some conference rooms that are underutilized. So I'm going to start implementing that now that I hear it and how it's worked for you and not having to go out and sell. And they're just reaching out to you, right? There you go. That's the way to do it. So as long as we're kind of talking about sales a little bit, and obviously we know that strategy that you have there. So you're not going out actively looking for clients because they're coming to you. But in the beginning, did you try any marketing ideas that just totally flopped?
Yeah. So I tried the sales, like traditional sales route. But as I said, I always sold a lot, but was always under the relationship thing, right? To creating the relationship, understanding the pain or the problem, and offering a partnership to solve that. And very often also offering peace of mind, which means give it to me, forget about that, mission given, mission accomplished, right? And it's still, that's what we still do. But how someone that I'm looking for, a certain company, will know about that? So I had a hard time in terms of trying to reach those people. So my main flop wasn't even like with sales. It was sometimes I had the prospect And in my mind, I created such an elaborated proposal with this and that, and this is what you're gonna do, and that's what you're gonna see. And in my mind, that was amazing until one guy said, "Man, I just need someone to come 3 times a week, clean the office." and that was like, man, this guy is right. Like, I'm trying to make cleaning rocket science and present this as we are the best. And look, do cleaning, do it well, show what you can do, be simple. The simpler, the better. And you're gonna get a chance. So my biggest flop was like overthinking, overdoing my approach to the customer, while they were just expecting like something much simpler than that.
And I think a lot of us do that. And that's just what happens when we overthink. But I like this statement. It says, complexity makes you seem smart, but simplicity makes you money. And I think I kind of heard that from you. Like, they just want the simple piece. Like, you guys are here to clean. Give me how many days, give me the scope, give me the price, right?
Yeah. To be more precise, I would say, Edwin, you gotta be, or I learned that I should be as complex as the customer needs me to be.
Exactly. Right? Exactly.
So some will be like super techy and want to see, dashboards and everything. So yeah, I'll present you that. Now I have that understanding. But I don't need to come with that to Maria that say, hey, I just, I need once a week cleaning, take the trash, no restrooms. I don't need to do that. So Maria, here's an email with my price. That's what you're going to do. And that's it. That's all she needs. Right. So you got to understand the needs and the people that you are dealing with, and then deliver accordingly.
Exactly. And it goes back to you asking those open-ended questions and
correct.
Understanding their needs, right? So they want simplicity. That's what you're going to deliver.
That's correct.
That's good. So I wanted to ask, because 11 years in business, and you're in a highly competitive market. I mean, anywhere up and down the East Coast. I mean, how far away are you from Boston? Is that within your coverage area?
45 minutes, although I don't go there, but I could go there. I just opt to not go there.
Sure. And I mean, you're close to a major city. So the number one pain point that I deal with because I do consulting. And so the number one, the pain point that all of these commercial cleaning business owners are bringing to me is they don't know how to bid. They don't know how to come up with their pricing. What advice would you give that new commercial cleaning business owner on how to figure out the right pricing to bid on a new account?
Well, I would say we go back to what we spoke before, right? Go to the associations, go to ISSA, BSAI, get the theory about pricing, which is different than pricing in real life. But there is a theory. There are certain standards that will help you a lot in terms of productivity and all that stuff. And then, you probably been there already. Sometimes you're gonna underprice, and get it because you underprice it. Sometimes you're gonna overprice and don't get it, or God willing, you'll get it. But it's experience. But you don't need to commit the same mistakes that like we committed and everything. You can minimize them or make them less harmful to your business. So if you understand the theory about pricing, and I help a lot of young entrepreneurs they call me, they email me, oh, I have this building. I say, okay, what's the frequency? What's the type of floors? Like, is it a lot of carpet or there's a lot of vinyl? Because vacuum is faster than mopping, so all that stuff that we know, it seems simple, but they don't know. So you go through that stuff. What's the square footage? How many restrooms? Inside the restrooms, how many stalls and everything? I guess the theory can be acquired, but you're going to need to go and put your face, in the market to maybe be slapped a little bit and learn by doing it, executing.
Yeah, there's so many experts out there, so-called experts, in Facebook groups and everything out there. And just be leery of that, because sometimes it's snake oil and they're trying to buy you some type of program that they have. I always throw out, there's two buildings. They're both 5,000 square foot apiece, but one has 10 employees working in there. The other one has 50 employees working in there. You can't bid it based on square foot, because the one with more employees is going to take longer. Yeah. So
one has glass walls, the other one. So, all that's going to be different. But again, unless you are there and you are, one thing that's interesting is I learned that too. I'm not afraid, literally not afraid to ask the customer how much you're paying now, or what's your budget.
That's honestly, that's the $1 million question. So you're absolutely right.
Yeah, because what's the worst that can happen? They might not give you that information, but if they do, man, you're good, right? You have a parameter to start working with. And I always say that, and it is true. And I'll share that, and feel free to use it. But if they are like unsure about giving the price, say, look, my point about you giving the price is not to make my price on top of that, but it's to understand if you are like paying a fair amount, but not getting the services you deserve. Or maybe I'll tell you, look, you're getting what you pay for. Exactly. So if I come here with the same price, probably you're going to get the same thing. And that's not what you want, right? So now gives me an argument for the next phase when I present my price to justify why my price is what it is. Because although you're going to pay a little more, those are the pains that we're solving. And then there's a price for that, right? If maybe it's more time, maybe it's a more detailed service, maybe it's one more day a week, or maybe it's another task or something. So don't be afraid to ask either what they are paying or what they would like to pay, what they're expecting to pay, what's in the budget.
Exactly. And it's a huge question. And like I said, it's $1 million question. And the worst thing they can do is tell you no. You know, I always tell this story. There was we have a lot of dams where I'm at because we have a lot of rivers. And so they call them public utility districts. So we had one, this is probably about 6 years ago, it went out for bid. They tell you in the RFP, it's worth, $1.5 million a year is what the price should be.
Right.
So you need to come in a little bit under it. So we did our due diligence, and, in this industry, anybody can buy a mop and a spray bottle and rags and become a commercial cleaning company. Well, we like to call them mom and pop companies. Well, there was myself and some larger companies that were all bidding on this one location, 1.5 million a year. Perfect. Let's go after it. Well, this mom and pop company came in. Everybody was, anywhere between 1.2 and 1.3 million a year. The mom and pop company came in at $250,000 a year. And they awarded it to the lowest price. So they got it. And what happened is it reset the market. So after that 3-year period, it went back on and they said, well, we had some issues at 250,000. We don't think it's 1.5. So let's put it at $500,000. And so it just reset the market. Yeah. So nobody goes after it, but these smaller accounts now. So it's very imperative to understand your numbers, go in and do the walkthroughs, ask all the right questions.
That's correct.
So, I wanted to ask you too, because everybody likes you in your area. It sounds like you're throwing in all these things. I mean, even networking events, everybody seems drawn to you. I was, my staff that I brought, they were as well. How many employees do you have in your company right now?
Yeah, so we do a mix of employees like W-2s and temps and subcontractors. I believe now we have about a dozen Jews, all part-timers, and all the rest are subcontractors. So altogether, let's say hands-on, working on our customers, we have about, I believe, 85 people now.
Majority of subcontractors?
Majority of subcontractors. So it's not that I have like 70 subcontractors. I have 20, 22, but each one of them usually a small family unit. So 3-4 people per. So when you put it all together, we have about that. And now because it's summer, now we do a lot of additional services. So it might inflate that number a little bit, but I would say on average 80 to 85.
So before we get into this next segment, I want to ask you really quick, why did you choose to go the subcontractor route?
Oh man, that's a good question. So subcontracting allows me to have like a large amount of things to offer that I don't need to buy the equipment, get the training, and do all that stuff because the subs, they are specialists on that. So for me, it makes more financial sense to hire or to subcontract with a guy that is a carpet washing specialist that has a truck-mounted equipment, than for me to buy that equipment, have a guy to do that. And sure, I would get 100% of this, whatever invoice. But now I need to maintain that equipment. I need to train the technician. I need to pay the salary, no matter if I have carpet jobs or not. So I don't think it makes financial sense for me to do that. So by subcontracting, I allowed my company to offer much more than just janitorial services. Actually, that's the way our horizontal growth, it's much larger than our vertical growth, which means we grow much more selling more to the customers we already have than to selling to new customers or to bring in new customers.
Upselling all those other services.
Absolutely. And that's only possible for us through subcontracting. So that's the reason I do that, because it really helps us, and let alone all the employment issues and vacations and replacement and everything.
They're a headache.
Sometimes. Yeah. I tip my hat for people that only self-perform. Good for them. As I always say, that there's not like a right way, a wrong way. You see what you want, establish your way, and that's and our way is that we will have W-2 employees for those customers that requires that. They require that. But otherwise, we will work with subcontractors. And we have subcontractors with us for 12 years, 14 years, 8 years. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, hey, Luis, I'll jump back into it here in a moment, but this part of the show is our new segment, and I like to call this one After Hours Confessions. And so this is your opportunity to share a story about you or your business that no one has ever heard, or maybe you have a hidden talent that not many people know about. So are you willing to share something with us?
Sure. Yeah, I'll share.
Let's hear it.
I'm an open book. I don't know. I mean, I don't have hidden talents. I'm from a musically gifted family. So, we play. My son is a fantastic musician. My wife plays. I play some guitar, some ukulele. We sing. So there's always music when we are together as a family. But it's music that we make, piano, all kinds of stuff. I have nephews, nieces that they are worship leaders in church, all involved with music. So it's not a hidden talent, but it's something that I love to be involved with. And the other thing is, I think that's interesting because I do a lot here and people know me and we sponsor things and I'm a janitor, right? And I'm proud of being a janitor. But I'm also proud of being a security guard. So in my church, I volunteer for the security team. We have, just because we are in a crazy world, you never know. So we have security around it. And that's what I do on Sundays. I'm part of the security team. There we go.
Cool.
The secret is revealed.
There you go. Right here. You heard it first on Built After Hours. But it looks like there's some music that gets played in the office too, because I do see that guitar right behind you.
There is a little guitar there, yeah.
Little jam out session. Very cool. But hey, I want to kind of circle back to that subcontracting piece, because I'm sure you piqued the interest of some people that are listening out there. Should they hire their own employees or should they look at subcontractors? Yeah. So I think, and I get this question asked a lot, and it's really a big question if you're looking at going the subcontracting route. How do you find a subcontractor and how do you know if they're good?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Just one thing that I remember, regarding what we're talking before, those events, right? So I remember last year I went to the same event that I just came from in Chicago, the Business Growth Strategy with ISSA. And Dan Schindler was there, right? And Dan is the king of subcontracting.
He is.
And I was like, I knew nothing about Dan or anything like that. And I was super happy with my endeavors and man, I do this way. And I get there and more people not just do that, but do way better than I do. So that was eye-opening, right? And you think you are like in the surfing, like on the high waves. And no, there's other people, in other areas doing what you do and doing it better. So that was great. But the way I find my subs and what I recommend is also related to the franchising before. So you will find great subs with equipment and everything that are franchisees of those national companies. And very often they need to have the equipment. They made the investment, but very often they don't have enough demand to fulfill the entire time. So they are actually eager to get more. And believe or not, many times they also have like playing vans, like no logos or anything like that, which is good also. Although I don't make a secret to my customer, but it's better, if it's just like neutral. In my case, I'm so blessed that we gave so much work to a certain subcontractor that I have 3 vans going around with my logo, but they're not mine. It's just he decided to logo his van with my
your logo on their van.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I've never heard of that before.
That's I know. Neither had I. I was very pleased. Of course, we are protected in terms of employment, liability, all that stuff. But it was just because we're feeding them.
They become loyal and they put your logo on stuff.
Yeah. And I always say that to the people and to my customers, like those subcontractors, they don't work only with me, but I work only with them. So they know the modular way. They know that I'm very picky. They know the way they need to execute the service to deliver a modular standard service to whatever customers I send them to. So having established that, I find them, again, through franchise and things like that. And very often, again, they have the playing vans. But the other thing that is super important is that you establish a price that's going to be good for the contractor. So they give me a price. Let's say carpet washing, let's say it's 30 cents or 25 cents, right? So I ask them, look, is 25 cents good for you? It's going to cover all your costs and everything. Yeah, it's going to go. Now, do you think I'm going to be competitive if I put my markup and go to the market? I say, well, let's do 23 cents. Okay, is 23 cents good for you? Yeah, so now we close on 23 cents. Now it's up to me to sell that service. And I might sell that service for 50 cents, for 24 cents, or for $1. It doesn't matter. Right? And what they do know is that it doesn't matter if my customer paid me or not, they will get paid. They will get paid on time or ahead of time, and that I'm going to keep feeding them with businesses. So that gives me a certain status of, I'm up on their priorities in terms of attending my jobs. So sometimes they have something scheduled. I come with emergency. They will do my emergency because, I'm feeding them and they are happy because I'm paying them what they asked me for. And I'm using my relationships, my commercial skills to sell that service. So it's more like a brokerage.
Exactly. And I think a lot of times, like you said, it's a brokerage. They're relying on you to bring them business.
Oh,
and,
absolutely.
For whatever reason, maybe they're not good at selling or they don't know what to do. So they're going to go directly to you and they're going to do everything to keep you happy so that you keep feeding them business.
Absolutely.
And again, just amazing that they put your logo on their vans.
I know.
So that just means.
I think I have some posts. I don't know. I'm not, as you know, I do some posts, but not many. But I think there are some posts that have the vans, and those are my vans, but they're not my vans.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
And so it was interesting. You mentioned it too. You said, so you do tell your clients that you use subcontractors.
Not necessarily, but I don't hide it. I don't volunteer the information. But if they ask me how this works, I'll tell them. I have no reason to hide it or to lie.
Yeah, always be transparent with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very transparent. And if they have questions about that, I will answer the questions. I will make my own questions and try to make them feel easy about that.
And being a subcontractor can also be scary. So if you're listening to this show and you're a subcontractor for, let's say, a national company, if you put all your eggs in one basket and you're always relying on them bringing you business and all of a sudden something happens, they go out of business, they sell their business, you can be fired in a heartbeat. Try to keep, if you are a subcontractor, I always say, try to keep it to 20% or less of your business so that if you do get fired, your business doesn't take a big hit if you lose those accounts.
Oh, no question. And that's a great point. And I remember when I transitioned from the franchise to the standalone company, we had one customer. I think we, at that point, was like, I don't know, $12,000 per month or a little more than that. Not much, but 10,000 was one customer. So in my mind, I needed to find $20,000 in new businesses, because if that one cancels,
you are okay.
I'm covered, right? Now, I did that. I brought more than that, and I still have that one. But now it's like 30,000, not 10. So it works well, but it's good to be protected.
Well, you're doing something right. I mean, you've got subcontractors, you're keeping accounts for years upon years. I mean, that's just amazing. So
without a contract, we didn't even talk about my lack of contract, but that's.
No, this is good. But, before we start wrapping this up, and it's amazing, we've been talking for almost 50 minutes now, and it seems like we just started. Yeah. It's amazing how this conversation goes. But, Luis, looking ahead to where you want to take your business in the next couple of years, where do you see it going?
Yeah. So I know the way I do business, including the no contract and everything, probably subject for another podcast.
Sure.
But I know that the business is going to be as large as I can make it, along with my son, which means we are almost there. I think I can. Right now, we are on pace to be close to $3 million in revenue. Just a number. I always say revenue is nothing. Profit is everything.
Exactly.
But we are very profitable because of the way we elected to work and the niche and all that stuff. So I know we probably can do another $500,000 or so, maybe $1 million under this type of strategy that we have so far. But after that, I will need to change the strategy or sell the company or bring an investor or something like that. I'm open to everything. It is my baby, but it's not. But it's not my baby. I'm not going to sell my son ever or my daughter.
Right.
Yeah. But I'm open in that regard. So I think then the next step is to maximize what we can do. And after that, we need to redesign the strategy, which I already have in mind, what areas, to bring people, what areas to diversify and to do what I preach. Because I always say that a grave mistake that you and I and our business owners do is thinking that the fact that no one's going to do it like you is a bad thing. People will do it better than you if you find the right people and give them the opportunity. So I don't want to limit my business to my competences, because I know there's other people, or there are others that can do it better. So that's going to be our next step. Once we maximize, then we're going to go after better solutions and to keep growing.
I like that. And it's one of those things where you get to a certain milestone. So you get to that 3 million mark. If you want to get to that 5 million mark, you almost have to reinvent yourself, change things around. And you get to that 5 million mark if you want to get to that 7 million mark. Because if you stay the same,
Oh,
you're not gonna continue to grow.
Yeah, the strategy needs to change. And there, as you said, there are watermarks that once you get there, you need to re-strategize. And for me, it's always about retention. Again, I know we are almost ending, but our attrition is ridiculous. Like we have less than 2% a year.
Wow.
So it's ridiculous. So if you do not lose customers, it compounds, right? Like you can grow horizontally, you can bring some customers, but you still grow, and also profitability. You gotta have, at this point, I'm not saying that's an industry standard or should be, but at this point, we do not bring in a business unless it keeps or improves our bottom line. So we're not diluting that.
Exactly. Why would you want anything less than that, right?
Correct. Yeah.
I like that. So, looking back over the past 11 years in the cleaning industry, is there anything that you would do differently? Or are you glad that you're still doing what you're doing right now?
Yeah. In terms of the overall business, I couldn't be more satisfied. As you know, I'm a Christian, and I know God has blessed me, not because of me, but in spite of me, because I made plenty of mistakes and everything. So as a business, I'm satisfied as one could be. Now, in the entire history, if I would do something different, I certainly would do the exit from the franchise to stand alone differently. It wasn't a good way. I see things now that I'm a business owner that I can see the way the business owner that I separated from was seen, and I couldn't see that at that point. So I would have done that differently. I would change that. Although again, we learn, and God is good and transforms bad in good.
Yeah, so some of those things that you mentioned are just stepping stones, I like to call them.
Yeah.
They're not really failures. They're just learning lessons so that you put yourself on the right direction. Luis, this is going to bring us into the final segment of the show. In this segment of the show, I like to call Rapid Fire Roulette. So I'm going to ask you 5 questions, and you're going to get like 3 seconds to give me a quick answer. So just easy questions. Give me a quick answer.
Okay.
So you tell me when you're ready to start.
Let's go.
All right, let's do it. So if you had to clean with one celebrity for a day, who are you picking?
Denzel.
Most embarrassing song that you know every word to?
It's a Brazilian song, but it's ridiculous. It's about like the chicken song or something like that.
Well, Ricardo Apollo might know that one. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so whiskey or cigar or both?
Man, both, all the way.
Perfect. So if cleaning had an Olympics, what event are you taking gold in?
Relationships?
Perfect. That's what we've been talking about. So, and last question here, your favorite movie of all time?
A Time to Kill.
Time to Kill.
Yeah, based on a book by John Grisham. Yes. Excellent movie.
Perfect. I like it. Well, thanks for playing the game, asking you questions there. So before we wrap this up, I like to ask this because, again, we have a lot of new commercial cleaning business owners that are listening to the show. Have you ever received any advice from someone that has stuck out to you that's maybe helped you along your business journey?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. You want me to share it?
You care to share?
Yeah, it's not a secret. So more than a very solid and consistent advice, I had a leader at SC Johnson. His name is Carlos Cherubin. I hope he somehow, some way listen to this someday. So it's more than what he always said. And he was a very smart guy and always said good things. But it's his behavior, the way that he conducted the business and mostly treated the people. Man, if I could do 10% of that, I would have like a great company and I would be a great leader. So it's much more than an advice. It's a way of treating people with dignity, with respect, with genuine interest that was taught to me by the way Cherubin did his leadership while at SC Johnson at that point. So I owe to him a lot of the actions that I take today that are good ones and are recognized by others.
That's awesome. And it still sticks out to you.
Oh, yeah.
That's great. So last question for you. And I know that you received advice, but what kind of advice would Luis give a new commercial cleaning business owner, somebody just getting into the game? What would you tell them?
Well, it's cliche, but it's hard work and dedication. There's nothing resists to a good work. So if you do a good work and you hustle and you insist and you fight for what you're looking for, you're gonna succeed. Now, my advice, it's because of course that's what I credit my whatever success I have to, is to trust in God. For me, God is the source of my life completely. So there is no segments of my life where He would be absent. He's present in everything, and it's not religion; it's relationship. So it's not. I'm not checking like check marks. It's throughout the day. It's in everything, and it's not also like I'm not a saint or anything. Of course, you know that, but it's just knowing that there is a God that created me and has the best interest for my life, and trust in it. And then you do your part. You work hard. You do what you said you would do. You show commitment. You show respect, and I'm sure you're going to succeed. I heard you in a previous podcast saying, if you say you're going to wake up early. And I couldn't agree more. Like, I made a decision to be up by 5:40 and do my exercise and my devotional at the same time. So body and soul. And that's what I do every morning. You know what I mean? Sometimes I don't want to do it, but I can, if I break a commitment that I have to myself, let alone the others. So once I'm faithful in that commitment to myself, helps me to be faithful with others as well. So trust in God, work hard.
I like it. In relationships, you're the relationship guy.
Always. Yes.
Well, hey, Luis, man, I appreciate you coming on the show. And I know you dropped a ton of value. And I know that everybody that's listening is going to get a ton of value from this show. So again, I appreciate you coming on and sharing everything with us today.
Thank you, Edwin. What a pleasure to be here, man. And I applaud you. I already said, and I will say it again, excellent work you're doing, and even being vulnerable enough to share some of your, personal life. And I think that's fantastic. I've been praying for your family, for your wife. And I'm so glad with the good news. So, I mean, it's not just saying, it is a pleasure and an honor to be here. And I'm very happy that you invited me. And I thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Likewise, the same, my feeling towards you is the exact same way, but I'm going to continue following your journey, and I'm sure we're going to see each other down in Nashville too. So
yes,
again, that's going to be fun. So, and I do owe you, because I did buy a round of drinks for everybody, and somehow somebody, meaning you, ended up paying that tab. So I owe you a few.
There's always a next time.
Exactly. Well, again, thank you for being on the show.
Of course. My pleasure.
All right. That's a wrap for this week's episode of Built After Hours. Huge thanks again to Luis for coming on and sharing his story. If you got value from today's show, make sure you subscribe, hit that button below, like, and leave a comment. It helps more cleaning business owners find this show and grow with us. And hey, next week marks the grand finale of season 1 of Built After Hours. That's right. Episode 10 is coming in hot, and I wanted to close it out with someone special. My final guest is a well-known name in the cleaning industry and the author of How to Create and Scale a Successful Commercial Cleaning Business. Trust me, you don't want to miss this one, and we're going to catch you on the next one for the big finish.